Hey, how's it going, guys? OpenSX here. Welcome back to Dubster, the podcast type show where we take a look at a product's English dub and the product itself and let you know if it's any good. This time, we have a request, haven't done one of these in a while, from W1 Liquid Snake and a bunch of random numbers, who states, you should do Metropolis. Guys, he read at us. I guess I have no choice but to cover it now. All jokes aside, Metropolis is a film I've always heard of, but never gotten around to see, for whatever reason here or there. It's always been in the back of my mind, but, you know, just never got around to it. So, definitely been on the list, and now that I've finally watched it, I could say I'm glad I did. This is one where I could say, just go check out the movie now if you have the ability to. I would highly recommend it. This was a really fun film. That's the short version. But if you want the long version, let's get into it. Metropolis is a manga by Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy. Yes, the original Astro Boy that was written all the way back in 1949, meaning we have hit the record for the oldest thing we've covered here. And it was loosely based on the 1920s silent film of the same name. I can't watch the silent film because I need audio in order to tell anything on what's going on for obvious reasons. So, someone will have to let me know if that's any good or not. Anywho, he would use this manga as a pseudo kind of prototype for Astro Boy, which kind of interesting to think about. Fast forward to the 1960s, when old Astro Boy anime was getting done. Yeah, I should mention as a side note, this technically means you have the silent film to thank for eventually leading us to Astro Boy, which is considered the granddaddy of all anime. So, that's a thing. But yeah, one of the people working under Tezuka on this anime was Rintaro, who you'd all probably better know as the founder of Studio Madhouse. He wanted to do a Metropolis film, but Tezuka told him no at every single turn. I'm going to rush through the rest of this history because there's plenty of videos out there that have gone into this, but shortly after, Rintaro left, founded Madhouse, then the 90s happened, and Rintaro was able to basically get the funds together and everything working to make a Metropolis film. He himself stated he believes the only reason he was able to make this film is because Tezuka was dead. Jeez. And to be fair, it wasn't made, the movie was not made out of malice or anything like that. He wanted to make it as an homage to Tezuka. He looked up to the man and deeply respected him. Hence why he went out of his way to get someone who might be able to bring the source material to life in terms of writing. The screenwriter was Otomo, of Akira fame, which is another film I need to get around to. Oh, and that one has multiple dubs, so that'd be fun. But yeah. Long story short, the film would eventually come out in 2001 and was critically acclaimed, actually. Roger Ebert himself saying the movie is one of the best animated films he's ever seen in his life. What are my thoughts? Do I agree with him? We'll get there. The US release, yes, learn to talk. US release was by TriStar. And the film would make roughly $4 million. Yeah, doesn't really sound that impressive compared to Demon Slayer, Mugen Train, or Dragon Ball Super Superhero, or One Piece Film Red, even. That's not a knock on this film or anything. It's just, you know, really throws into perspective how big anime has gotten in the last 2 decades. What didn't help also is this movie was nominated for an award that year, but it was beaten by another anime masterpiece landmark, Spirited Away. Yeah, trying to compete with Miyazaki's latest film might not have been the smartest idea on Madhouse's part. So, that being said, now that we got the history lesson out of the way, what is this film about? Well, Metropolis takes place in the futuristic city, titled Metropolis, real original, jackass, with the pseudo-head of the city, Duke Red, as he's just completed the experiment, or his magnum opus, the Ziggurat, a tower that will reach into the heavens and let him mess with the world. Oh yeah, I should mention he's the inventor of Metropolis. The one thing, though, he needs to control the Ziggurat and make it whole is a robot to control it and as its core. Yeah, Metropolis is a city that humans and robots live together in, but not peacefully. You see, robots are the ones who live on the lower levels doing all the manual labor, such as, cleaning sewers and any job you could think of. The robots on the upper levels are the police robots. This actually sounds like something Kojima would come up with. I think I made that joke last time on Royal Space Force too. But yeah, the humans are not happy with the robots because they feel they have been put out of jobs, so they're not being able to get work, thus they get paid, so they live impoverished. Kind of a thing to think about, isn't it? Especially with AI progressing the way it is. I mean, might not happen by our lifetime, but you never know. In a couple hundred years, AIs could be taking over and doing all of our jobs. What would happen to the economy and workforce then? I don't know, just something to think about that I thought was an interesting thought to come up with. Back to the plot synopsis, though. Duke Red wants to have his deceased daughter be used as a template for the robot. Basically make a humanoid robot in the image of his daughter named Tima. No, not Tina, Tima with an M. And the person he contracts to do this is Dr. Lawton, who's known for doing some really shady stuff. Enter Detective Bon, who was sent here from Japan with his nephew Kenichi, as they're tasked with investigating Lawton and arrest him. And long story short, I think you all see where this is going, possibly. But this is where things get really complicated. You see, Duke Red has an adoptive son named Rock. Could you smell what the Rock is cooking? I know you all cringe at that joke, and that pleases me. His son's whole thing is he wants his dad to notice him. So, yeah, he wants to kill Tima before anything can happen, because he believes his father's legacy should not be dragged down by that of a robot. He's sort of a racist towards robots. Can you be racist towards an electronic? Whatever the case, by the time Bon and Kenichi are in the area, Rock has already tried killing Tima and already had Lawton killed. Trust me, this isn't spoilers. This is all within the first 5 minutes of the film. 5-10 minutes, I'm not joking. And yeah, this is when Kenichi gets separated from his uncle and ends up coming across Tima, who survived the attack, and they run away together more or less and form a close-knit bond. That's more or less the basic setup. What makes things even more fascinating, though, is the fact that Tima nor Kenichi know that Tima is indeed a robot. She's that humanoid compared to the other robots. All the other ones are, well, you could tell they're robots, let's just put it that way. Except for Tima. She was made in the image, again, of Duke Red's deceased daughter. So because of that, she looks the most human. And she believes, though, that she is human since she was just activated that day. And Kenichi also agrees with her. He thinks she's just a strange girl who's, well, odd. Couple that in with some of the humans wanting to start a revolution and overthrow robots. You have other political parties wanting to get Duke Red out of power because they believe he's becoming too powerful with his reach. And you've got a really compelling film here. To be honest, you might think that it would stumble and fall with all the plot threads it's trying to tackle, but no. I never felt lost or felt like there was too much going on. If anything, my one nitpick I could come up with is I wish Tima and Kenichi had more bonding scenes in the earlier half of the film. Don't worry, there are still plenty of those. I just felt it could have used a couple more, but again, it's a nitpick. So, moving on from that, the animation, I can't really comment on, but it's Madhouse, and I heard people say it's really damn good. As far as the music goes, it goes for a sort of jazzy feel, and I really like it. I think it fits really well with everything going on, and the climax of the film is set to a cover of Ray Charles' I Can't Stop Loving You. Well, a cover. No, it's his cover of the song. It is literally the song. So, and I will say the climax of the film is something that will stick with you when you watch it. Trust me on that. People who've seen the film will know it. It is really well done. I'm not going to go anything more into the film spoiler-wise for obvious reasons, because I do want people to see this film. But let's get to the reason this is called Dubster Dive, and probably the reason a lot of you are here. How does the dub hold up? Well, for one, it's done by Sony Picture Studios, who I don't think we've ever covered here before, with ADR director being Kevin Seymour, who we literally just covered on Royal Space Force. You know, you could go check that episode out if you haven't seen it. No judge, wink wink. Translation by Shoko Ohano and Mark Handler. And I think it's fine. I didn't notice any issues with the direction or script for the most part. Now first we have our main character, Kenichi. So who's bringing the young boy to life? It's Brienne Siddall, who we've covered here before. Jim from Outlaw Star, and she's also Tommy from Digimon Frontier. And I think she does good. Again, Kenichi's and his uncle are pseudo fish out of water here, since they came from Japan. And I kind of do like that nice touch. Kenichi and his uncle Bon having different names, since they are, again, from Japan, while the people in Metropolis have other names. It differentiates the regions a bit. Again, I know that's a small thing, but details like that I kind of like. So yeah, back to her performance. So I think she does really good, especially in the climax of the film. Speaking of which, her opposite, or Kenichi's opposite, so his opposite, Tima, she's voiced by Rebecca Forstadt, who you don't know is Rika from the old dub of Higurashi, and not only from Code Geass. And I think she did a really good job here. Voicing a character that's a robot, I think, has to be really difficult in order to pull off, because you have to make sure you're not going too into just, hello, I am robot, etc. And Rebecca Forstadt is a master at voicing adorable characters, and she does really good as Tima, especially in the climax when shit gets real. I want to talk about it more, but I genuinely can't. So, yeah. Moving on from her, though, we have Duke Red, who I already mentioned earlier. Duke Red is a character who I really like. He, again, him wanting to make his deceased daughter the one that the robot would be modeled after, I thought was a good way to humanize him. Even though he himself it's an open secret he does criminal dealings, but there's no proof of it. And when he's in public, he presents himself as this larger-than-life character that people can look up to and respect. He's basically a politician. But, yeah. I like Duke Red as a character. I think he's a pretty good villain. He's voiced by Jameson Price. Yes, that Jameson Price. Meaning in a film about pseudo-racism towards robots, we have our main villain played by Jameson Price, who himself more or less just did segregation with voice acting roles. So he was Chad in Bleach. He's also Lu Bu in Dynasty Warriors 8. And look, I'm not going to knock the guy's voice acting here. He did a really good job as Duke Red. So, I don't have any complaints about that. After him, we have Detective Bond, who comes across like a bumbling fool a lot of the time. He's very, you know... He just comes across like the bumbling idiot, but you can tell he knows more than he's letting on. He's not an idiot. He's voiced by Tony Pope, who's Clays from the Ease OVA, or YS, and yes, it is pronounced Ease, and Papa from Hello Kitty's Paradise. And after hearing he's Papa from that, I just immediately thought of Stranger Things or Elfenlied, meaning I am now picturing this Hello Kitty anime being full of lots of blood and gore. That sounds hilariously stupid. Anyway, back on track. I think Tony Pope does a good job as him. You're going to be hearing me say that a lot, because I don't think there's a bad performance here. He does a good job as the caring uncle that really wants to track down and find his nephew when he gets separated from him. And you can tell he's, you know, doing his best with the job he's been given. Next, we have Dr. Lawton, which I might as well cover, even though he's only in like the first 5-10 minutes of the movie. He's voiced by Simon Prescott, who's Dr. Isaac from Cyborg 009, the Cyborg Soldier, Doctor from Nightwalker, Midnight Detective, and Doctor from Episode 2 of Cowboy Bebop. He was only typecasted as doctors his whole career. How the hell does that happen? Anyway, he's your typical evil scientist dude. Kind of. He does okay for what scenes he is here for. Just a couple more characters left that I want to go over. Next, we have Rock, who I think is a really fun character. Rock is voiced by Michael Reese, who's Matt from Digimon, the old Digimon, and Kiyoshi from Vampire Princess Miyu. And I think he actually does a really good job as this character. There's a scene where Rock confronts Tima, and he breaks down hysterically laughing at something that happens. I'm not going to spoil what, but this is where Michael Reese really shines, and I feel this was his standout performance in this film. When Rock is really trying to vie for Duke Red's attention, and when he is forced to act over the top and more hysterical. And I mean hysterical in the insane, psychotic way. Like, you could tell this guy's mentally fucked in some way. And, yeah, I think Michael brings a fun amount of energy to the role. So, the last main character I'll mention, or major character, is a guy named Atlas. He's the revolutionary leader for the humans. Now, interestingly enough, Atlas is an homage to one of Tezuka's other characters. Atlas is Astro Boy's brother in the Astro Boy franchise, who hates humans and wants to be done with humanity. But here, the script is flipped. Atlas is a revolutionary who hates robots. I thought that was really fucking cool when I learned that. He's voiced by Scott Wagner, who's Aladdin from Aladdin and the King of Thieves. I think he took over for Robin Williams, which that's a thing. And he does all right. Again, Atlas is here for the majority of the second act. I think he does fine. But yeah. He actually has a really good scene where he's forced to play off of our next robot friend companion, Pero. So I should mention here that robots don't have human names, usually. Tima's the exception, because there's a law stating that robots can't have anything humans do in order to differentiate them, because they don't want robots replacing humanity. So when Pero introduces himself to Bon, he's basically a police bot that gives him exposition. When Bon asks him questions, as the surrogate audience stand-in more or less for the beginning of the film, Pero will answer them, how Metropolis works. But yeah, Pero introduced himself as Numbers, and Bond's like, that doesn't work, I'm going to call you Pero. It's the name of a dog I had, is the TLDR. He's voiced by Dave Mallow, Akuma from Street Fighter IV, and the second voice of Kaien from Bleach, as well as Kensei from Bleach. And, yeah, I think he does fine here. This is one where he has to sound more robotic, and he has a cool filter, too, that doesn't sound like shit. So that's basically the majority of our main cast list. There's other standout voice actors, too, on the cast list. Bob Pappenbrook, that's Bryce's dad, for those who don't know. Doug Airholes, Dan Warren, other legends of the industry. Steve Blum is also here, as a handful of people. Yeah, the double casting, I will say, is pretty out there. Of course it is. It's an LA dub. But I thought the dub was pretty solid. The only nitpick I could have is a lot of the background side characters feel like they could have had some more takes. But, again, nitpick. Our main characters all do their jobs correctly. My favorites being Michael Reese as Rock, Jameson Price as Duke Red. Again, guys, I'm going to be fair, even though I realistically think he's a dick IRL. And probably Rebecca Forstad as Tima. Brienne Siddall's not bad either, though. Speaking of Brienne Siddall, I should mention she also voices Fifi, who's a, I guess, small animal robot thing that helps him out from time to time. Double casting your main character. LA, get your shit together when you come to dubbing. To be fair, Fifi doesn't talk, she just makes noises, or he. I don't even know what gender Fifi is. I don't know Fifi's pronouns. No! I'm gonna get canceled! But yeah. To close this out, did I like Metropolis? Hell yeah. And learning what I did now after the movie, about how it was meant to be a love letter to Tezuka, as well as fans of Tezuka's work, that's kind of fucking cool. I think they did a phenomenal job going for that style, if that's what they were trying to do. And, you know, it's what it's about. Learning that this film was a tribute really enhanced the experience, I think. So if you want to see a film that's an homage to pseudo-otaku them at the time, then check this movie out. Track it down if you can. I really enjoyed this one. Thank you for recommending it, Mr. Liquid Snake. I like all recommendations, even the bad ones, because it's like, you know, who knows? Maybe there's some enjoyment to be had. So, but let me know your thoughts on Metropolis. I should mention the film also introduced its themes incredibly well, but I don't want to say any more because I do want people to experience this film. This is one I would recommend tracking down and all that stuff. Now, do I agree with Roger Ebert about it being one of the best animated films I've ever seen in my life? I don't think I can go that far, I'm going to be honest, but I do think it is still a phenomenal film. And yeah, definitely one I'm glad I saw. So that's going to do it for me, though, guys. Please like, comment, all that stuff, and hope I did justice to your recommendation, Mr. Snake. As far as next time, I think we're going to step away from the movies for a bit and cover an anime series next time. Because, yeah, why the hell not? So, join me for that, I guess. If you have any recommendations, please leave them below, and we'll get to them eventually. Till next time, everybody. Hope you have yourselves a fantastic day.